Lifting heavy versus lifting less heavy. All right. So the menopause fitness experts, the ones who are doing the research, the bone doctors, the physiologists, they very, very much recommend lifting heavy. And what they mean by that is actually lifting weights that feel very heavy for you and working in low rep ranges. So let me take a little bit of a step back and explain how this works, because if you've never really thought about this, you may not kind of understand how this goes. So actually to build muscle, and that's what we want to do because we want to have more muscle mass on our bodies for all the health benefits. It's actually been studied that you can work in a variety of rep ranges. You can build muscle working 6 reps, so the number of repetitions of the exercise you do in a particular set, or you can do up to 30 reps. So the rep range is not so important or not so critical for building muscle. It used to be believed that if you did very few reps, you would be building strength more. And if you did a lot of reps, you wouldn't be able to build muscle, and that there was like this happy medium in between. But actually, it's a wide rep range that you can experience hypertrophy, in other words, building of muscle. But you need to have a second thing other than having 6 or 5 to 30 reps in order to actually build muscle. And that is the second factor, which is intensity. So you need to be lifting in a way that your last reps or your last rep is getting very close to failure or going all the way to failure. And now a reminder of what is failure. That means that you don't have another good form rep in you anymore. Now, it depends on what exercise you're doing, whether it makes sense to actually test what it's like to go all the way to failure or not. So, for example, if you're doing bicep curls, there is no danger in you actually reaching failure. And what that would look like is you do your bicep curls. You'll slow down as you're getting close to failure. Your pace will slow down, and then you won't actually be able to get your arm all the way up. So, in order to build muscle, you can use a wide rep range. So, anywhere from, I would say, about 4 to 30 reps that you're doing, but you have to be training with intensity. In other words, getting close to failure or going to failure. So that's for hypertrophy, building muscle. And that applies across the board, men, women, young, old, all the rest. Now, what's the difference between having a small rep range and a large rep range? Has to do with how heavy that weight that you're using is going to be. Now, if you just think about this logically, if you know that you're going to do a bicep curl and you need to get to failure or close to failure in 5 or 6 reps, you are going to pick up a heavier weight than if you're going to do 20 reps before you hit failure. So just think about that for a second. Think about the weight that maybe you've gone to a group fitness class and you know that you're going to have a lot of reps. Maybe you've gone to body pump. You're not going to pick up a super heavy weight because you're going to do like 30, 40, 50 bicep curls. You can't do that with a huge heavy weight because your muscles are just going to give out before you're able to do that. So the smaller your rep range is, so the smaller the amount of reps that you're going to do, the heavier the weight is that you're going to use. And if you have a larger amount of reps that you're going to do in your set, you're going to pick up a lighter weight because otherwise you're not going to get through the set. And this also translates, like if you think about running, if you know you have a 10-meter sprint, you can take off a heck of a lot faster than if you know you have a 10-kilometer run. You're going to go a lot slower for the 10-kilometer run. So, same kind of logic with shorter sets versus longer sets. So, to quickly summarize what we've learned so far is that you can actually build muscle in a wide range of reps. So, anywhere from about 4 or 5 to 30. But you have to have the intensity. So, you need to be working close to failure or to failure. And then we've also discussed the fact that if you are working in a smaller rep range, so with less reps, you need to use a heavier weight than if you're working in a larger rep range. So if you're doing 5 reps, you're going to pick up a heavier weight than if you're aiming to do 12 reps. Now, for women in perimenopause and menopause, our bodies are running low on estrogen, are struggling with decreasing bone density, and all those things. There are a lot of good reasons why we should be lifting heavy. So, actually working in these shorter rep ranges. Some recommend as low as like 4 or 5 reps. But I would not recommend that as you start out weight training that you go directly to that. And let me tell you why. So when you work in a smaller rep range, when you're lifting heavier weights, like relatively heavier weights, the first rep that you do is going to be hard. And that means that, first of all, your muscles need to be warmed up already before you do that working set. It means that you need to feel really comfortable with your technique so you don't hurt yourself. So it's not the place where I would start your weight training journey. And in fact, with my students, the people in my programs, I take them on a journey from not lifting to learning how to lift heavy. And that has various stages. And the stages for that are that you start out by learning how to lift. Because honestly, these movements may be completely unfamiliar to you. You need to learn, like, where should my elbow be? Should my shoulders be hunched up or down or pressed? Or how do I use my back muscles? All the things. I mean, there is actually a lot of learning. And with all the women that I've worked with, it is very, very clear. Some people are extremely good at coordinating their bodies. Maybe they're just more gifted that way athletically. And for some women, it really takes a long time to learn the movement patterns and feel really comfortable in them. So that just brings up another point, which is that please, when you are starting to weight train, or even when you've been doing it for a while, take some video of yourself every now and again, every 2 weeks, or when the gym is empty, or, if you're training at home every couple of weeks, take video of one set of each of your exercises and watch the video and check your own form because you will miss things even if you're looking at yourself in the mirror. For example, doing bicep curls, you see the front of you, but you don't see the side of you. And if you video the side of you as you're doing your bicep curls, then you might notice that, hey, I'm swinging. Hey, my elbows are in the wrong place. Wow, my wrists are looking kind of funky, all kinds of things. So technique is really important. And that's kind of the first part of the journey of learning to lift. And so when you're still learning, you want to be working in a larger rep range because that is going to be safer. It is going to allow you to focus on the form without having to be struggling to move the weight. Plus, you're going to have a little bit more time to warm up your muscles in your sets. So you don't need to be as, I don't want to, well, maybe I shouldn't even say this, but you don't need to be quite as careful about warming up. And so it's just in general a good way to learn. So I recommend if you're just starting out on this weight training journey that you are working in higher rep ranges. So let's say 8 to 12 or 12 to 15, depending on the exercise. And what that allows you to do is to get in the reps, to get in the practice of doing that exercise. Technique is something you can perfect forever. There's always something you can do a little bit better and a little bit better. So don't think that, oh, yeah, I know how to do a fill in the blank. You can always do it a little bit better. So keep working on your technique. But in any case, in your journey, you're going to be starting out by learning how to do the exercises. Now, once you've learned how to do the exercises in this kind of safer, and I'm putting air quotes for those of you, then you are going to, it's going to be a little bit safer to do that bigger rep range. And as you get more and more used to the movements, your body gets more and more used to lifting, then you can start shortening your rep ranges. And you'll notice that, let's say you're doing bicep curls. I always use bicep curls as an example. But let's say you're doing bicep curls and you've been working in a 12 to 15 rep range. Well, when you shift down to doing 8 to 12 reps, you're going to need to pick up a little bit heavier weight than what you've been doing before because you need to get close to failure or to failure sooner. Okay. So that, like, adjusting down to doing fewer reps, you're going to need to do a little bit of a change or reevaluation of the weight that you're using. So then you get used to doing those exercises with the shorter rep range. And then you can shorten your rep ranges again and again until you're working in this really short rep range, which means that you are really lifting heavier. Your first rep will feel like work at that point. And I really want to emphasize to you that, please, when you are doing your weight training and you're starting on your weight training, that you do focus on the form before you start shortening your rep ranges and lifting heavier and heavier. You can evaluate your own form if you have an eye for that. Video yourself and take a look, compare it to, hopefully you have some kind of program that you're using where the person that is demoing it is doing it correctly. So you can, like, look at the videos side by side, for example. Or if you have a coach, or if you're one of my clients, then please send me the video. I am so happy to look at form videos. And if you have access to a live personal trainer, if you're, training on your own, otherwise programming on your own, or getting a personal trainer to write a program for you, somebody that works at your gym, then have a session with them and just have them look at you doing each of the exercises and your technique. We want to be improving our technique over time to keep ourselves safe. Oh, yeah. And I had one more point, which is one of the reasons why I wouldn't go straight to super heavy lifting, which is that, remember, in previous, I've talked about what happens to your body as the estrogen starts to decline. And there are issues like that your tendons and ligaments start to get weaker and more easily injured. So when you start lifting again, or when you start lifting in general, it's not just your muscles that need to get stronger. It's kind of your whole system that needs to get stronger. And that doesn't happen in days. So going from no lifting to very heavy lifting, honestly, like, maybe you can even manage it, like your muscles could manage it. But then what about the rest of you? So you don't want to be getting tendonitis and all these things. Um, that is I think, one of the, I wouldn't say common, but if you are going to have issues, tendonitis is one of them that could happen in your elbows if you don't have good enough grip strength. A lot of clients, that their grip strength is not keeping up with their body strength. Okay, so let's sum that up. So yes, lifting heavy is what is recommended for women in perimenopause and menopause. And what that means is that ultimately your aim is to be doing short sets, I would say 4 to 6 to 8 reps, a little bit depending on the exercise. There's some exercises that you don't want to lift as heavy as other ones. But anyway, shorter sets. And when you're doing a shorter set, that means you are picking up a heavy weight and it's heavy from rep number 1. But that's not where you want to start your weight training journey because you don't want to injure yourself. You need to learn how to do the exercises, really get your form down, your confidence, let your body get used to weight training and let your body get strong too. Let your bones get strong too, your tendons, your ligaments, your muscles, your grip strength get strong before you shift over to lifting heavy. So, what I recommend really, and the journey that I take my own students on, is we start with longer rep ranges and we're lifting, applying progressive overload and all that. And then gradually I shorten the reps that they do over time so that in the end, they are going to be lifting heavy. But that is going to take months or even a year to get to that point because we want to be careful. We don't want to injure ourselves. All right. We have this one precious body that we're trying to strengthen, but we don't want to overdo it. So, this kind of journey to lifting heavy is a safe way to go. All right. So, I hope that that helps you understand about the lifting heavy and about how to get to lifting heavy. And with that, happy training.